Let's try that again, shall we? Hello, everyone. We are back to finish up the Aryan space thing. Give me a second to just tidy up. I tore apart my molecule. Oh, yes, puppies, we're back live. Yes, we are. The rocket launch test is not going to be any earlier than... I need to switch accounts. It's not going to be any earlier than... What is it? 3:30? So, if you're looking at the event on the calendar is wrong. So I'm updating that quickly, which should hopefully update everything else. And then we will pull up all the other things. So we are still waiting for Aryan space to come back. Oh no, what happened? I think all of our tags went away. Nope, there we are. So yeah, that should be fixed. So enjoy the nice piano music. Actually gonna flip over to where you can see the stream, just in case it starts without me realizing. And I'm gonna try my best to keep the piano music just kind of soothing. This is all music by Kevin MacLeod, otherwise known as Incomtech. And I don't know which piece is playing, but this is just a compilation of all his piano pieces he put together. So I'm going to get ready for the... Oh, things are happening. No, don't.
Hour rather, and 38 minutes into the launch of the next 4 satellites for the O3b constellation. And right now they are riding bareback on what's left of the upper stage of the launch vehicle, the Soyuz launch vehicle, heading towards their destination. Let's take a little look at the story so far. They lifted off from the pad here at the Guiana Space Center on the northeastern coast of South America, Amazonia, the equatorial launch zone for Europe, and they were flying on board VS-22, Vol Soyuz 22, the 22nd Russian launch vehicle Soyuz to lift off from its home here at the pad at the Guiana Space Center. And we were very lucky because it was a really beautiful launch. When we were looking at the weather forecast a few days ago, rain was predicted, but today it was clear. We lost the boosters and the fairing, and then the next parts of the launcher were jettisoned, and the upper stage then switched on its engine after the third stage was jettisoned. The frigate upper stage switched its engine on and transferred us to the next phase of the orbit. We switched off, heading out over the equatorial regions. Switched on for a second boost. That's our flight path, you can see it there. Heading towards South Point in Hawaii right now. Then we switched the engine off again, and we've been coasting without the engine since then for what we call a ballistic phase, which is a coast phase, for roughly an hour, 1 hour and 20 minutes. So frigate is propelling our satellites now towards their separation orbit, and we should be getting there in about 18 minutes' time. I am here in the Mission Control Center with a very special guest who we are really delighted to have with us. J.P. Hemingway is the CEO of SES Networks, and JP is also, it so happens, an expert in data and the internet. So if you have any questions for him afterwards, he's the man to ask about how the internet works. JP, well, obviously we all know what the internet means to us, but what does the internet mean to you?
Well, Katie, we believe the internet is a basic right. It's basically connecting people to people, people to the content they love to see, or people to businesses. And we talk about a lot of the explosion of data, and we talk about that in maybe London or New York, and that's all well and good, but that should be everywhere. And if you recall what O3B originally stood for, it was reaching the other 3 billion who don't have good quality connection to the internet. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring that same experience and deliver it across the entire planet. And that's something we really, really believe in.
And as you say, O3B at the time was about connecting the other 3 billion. Of course, the population's grown a lot since then. But you launched your first satellites in 2013, and the O3B constellation and latterly SES Networks has been really pioneering, and we heard it earlier in the program. Now we're launching, well, if all goes well today, we'll have 20.
That's right.
How's it been going?
Well, it's been quite the journey. I mean, we set out 10 years ago now. I can't believe it's 10 years ago, with a really bold vision. Really trying to change what people should expect from satellite, what satellite can fundamentally do, the quality of experience that you should expect from satellite. So we had to prove a few things. We had to prove the technology. We had to prove we could launch a constellation and that we could track those satellites as we've seen today. We could get them into a nice constellation and ultimately add more into that constellation, add more capacity, because once we got it into the world, they wanted more. That was the main thing. So we have to prove a few things. Technology, absolutely done. Then we had to prove that we could operationally make it work. Ultimately, could we deliver high-quality services with lower delays of signals, better latency, so that everyone had the same experience, again, as in New York, as if we're in the heart of Africa. So we proven the technology, proven the operations, but ultimately proven that it's commercially viable. At the end of the day, we need to be able to scale this, keep it sustainable. So that's the final thing we've done, is really make it absolutely sustainable as a model. And that's what we've done. But the biggest thing is you've got this bold vision. It's the proven impact. And what does that mean is the customers we have with us today and those around the world, it's about what have they done with these services? What have they managed to change? And I give a couple of examples, perhaps. We tend to split our market up into certain segments. So we have what we call the fixed data. These are the telecommunications companies, the mobile network operators. We all talk about 4G and LTE. I get very annoyed when I walk to somewhere else and it suddenly disappears to 2G or something. But that's the reality in large parts of the world. So we've used our MEO constellation to deliver high-speed broadband internet into countries and locations, whether they be remote locations in Africa or Latin America or on ships, so they can have the same experience using 3G and 4G as if they were in the classic London, New Yorks, etc. So that's the telco side. We've also done great things with the governments of the world, and I particularly love the work we do with the humanitarian side of the governments. So, for example, in Africa, we've helped deploy connectivity to all of these peacekeeping missions. They rely on huge logistics, getting thousands of people with the supplies they need and keeping them safe. We've doubled the number of sites in Africa from 10 to 20. And that means that all of these sites have the seamless logistics system so that everybody is supplied well and ultimately kept safe. So these are two segments that have been really, really popular for us in the last sort of 5 years or so. And the last example I gave is maybe in the maritime market. People talk about this a lot, and it is an important part of our business. These cruise ships, the very largest ships, these are floating cities. There are 5, 6, 7,000 people on these ships, and they used to share a tiny amount of bandwidth. And now they're sharing the same experiences you have at home on the ship. So it's really disrupted the whole market and challenged what people should expect that satellite can achieve. So that's what's been keeping us busy for the last 5 years.
Certainly very busy, and
Yes.
of course you're really literally transforming lives. But, so we've been talking about your satellites in what we call MEO, which is medium Earth orbit, but SES has satellites in geostationary orbit as well, much further away from the Earth. What's the difference?
It's a great question. And I'd probably start by saying they're great in combination. So we like to have the geostationary and the medium Earth orbit. And maybe here's an example I'd say why. I tend to think about if you imagine the globe on maybe your desk at home and you've got a flashlight or a torch and you're very far away with your geostationary satellites, it illuminates a large part of the globe. You can see a large space, lots of users, lots of cell towers, lots of ships, lots of aircraft. So it's very, very good at reaching lots of people with a good amount of data, but it's all about the reach. But as you come closer in, think of bringing that flashlight closer in, the beam gets slightly smaller, but it really focuses the amount of energy you have on that little spot of the globe. That means you can get very high throughput, much lower latency, which is better quality of experience. So it's that real combination of super high throughput, medium Earth orbit delivered capabilities in combination with the geostationary. And what's really neat is when we have individual users that maybe need latency sensitive signals, whether it's video or video conferencing, that needs this low latency medium Earth orbit, and we can route traffic to that particular satellite. If you want to do web browsing or something that's not quite so important, you'll route that traffic up to the geostationary services. So that flexibility to route the right application to the right satellite infrastructure is incredibly powerful. And we have over 70 satellites up there. It gives us incredible flexibility.
There are, though, a number of constellations, aren't there, now, which are planning to really target in with that torch right into the low Earth orbit and the much smaller spots. So what makes you stand apart from them?
I think the first thing I'd say is all of this talk and the investment that's going on into these multiple constellations, whether they be other ones in geo or in the low Earth orbit, the first thing I'd say is it's good. It's good for our industry. It's good for the telecommunications industry in general. It's good for the consumers of that because it's basically stating that satellite will be part of mainstream communications. It has to be. It has to be used with fiber, with microwave, and satellite will be mainstream. So all this is a proof point to me that it's happening. What I would say is that I don't think all of those constellations will exist. I think some are great. I think some may exist. And I don't think all of them need to exist. But to your specific question, again, you talked about bringing that torch beam even closer to the globe on your desk. It really focuses it down. So yes, you'll get good throughput. Yes, you'll get even lower latency. But think about trying to get from maybe Africa to London. And this small spot has a little bit on Africa and a little bit here, a little bit there. So if you want to get from Africa to London, you've got to go through multiple hops to get there. So ultimately, the delay will be the same. So we really think this medium Earth orbit is the sweet spot. We studied it for a long time. It's the sweet spot.
So, we've just got 30 seconds left, JP, but how are you going to keep that going, that sweet spot?
Well, we have to keep disrupting. We disrupted once. We think we've really changed what people should expect, but we're going further. So this is the last of the 20, and now we've got our Empower constellation, which takes this to exponential scale. We're going from gigabits to terabits. We're going from megabits to a site to gigabits to a site, and ultimate flexibility, thousands of beams instead of hundreds of beams. It's super scale.
Very, very exciting, and always the big vision from SES and the O3b constellation, a very pioneering constellation. JP, thank you very much. We wish you all the very best now as we progress into the next phase. And so we're going to take a film now and look at O3b, the constellation, and SES networks.
In 2009, SES's investment in the O3b Medium Earth Orbit, or MEO constellation, marked a new venture into non-geostationary satellites. This pioneering move disrupted the traditional satellite market and established SES's vision to connect the underserved on a global scale. Vision became reality in 2013 with the first MEO satellite's launch.
And here today in the jungles of French Guiana, we launched O3b. For the last few years, our life at O3b has been about building stuff. From today, that all changes. From today, our business is about our customer's company, and we aspire to be the team that you choose to work with.
Ever since, the O3b constellation has delivered against its bold vision. Today, the O3b system delivers to nearly 50 countries around the world.
And now if you go to the DRC or to South Sudan or to Chad or to the Amazon or large parts of the Pacific, what you see is people connected to the internet, connected to the world's marketplace and the world's universities, connected to the world's health systems. We've had a dramatic impact.
The Prime Minister in his speech yesterday made the comment that APEC was the most important thing that's happened in PNG in the years since independence in 1975.
We had the responsibility to ensure that we were able to provide seamless connectivity to the visiting leaders, the media.
We basically needed a turnkey solution: supply, install, commission, and then support through APEC, and we got all of those things from SES.
On a utilisé la DSL, on s'est rabattu aussi sur la 3G parfois pour pouvoir nous soulager, mais bon, la connexion n'était pas toujours satisfaisante à notre goût. Alors avec cette station qui a été installée sur le territoire régional, nous avons un service qui a une qualité sincèrement irréprochable. Avec cette station O3B, cet outil qui vient s'ajouter donc à tout l'arsenal juridique qu'on a et tout, va nous permettre bien sûr de chercher des plateformes pour une e-gouvernance au niveau de la région.
Gracias a la solución que implementamos de O3B MEO, pues Entel hoy en día brinda a todos sus usuarios 4G en su red. Hoy día en Iquitos los clientes pueden experimentar velocidades de bajada de datos de 10 megabits por segundo, así como lo pueden experimentar acá en Lima.
SES, as partners, they cover 99% of the world's population with their satellite constellations, all in service to the guest, because it's all about the guest experience.
The O3b system has already transformed our customers' businesses and their end users' lives.
This launch is a really exciting and important one for us at SES, and also one that marks a very important point in the O3b journey. It marks the last 4 satellites in the first generation system of O3b, but it's also a massive introduction to the next generation O3b Empower, where we've taken the proven aspects of O3b and we've scaled it ridiculously to bring that same capability, affordable, plentiful bandwidth any place on the planet.
With O3b Empower, we are now taking this proven model to the next level. Taking this proven model to the next level.
Great shot there from the drone of the Jupiter Control Center, the outside, and the launcher that you saw was not the real Ariane 5. It was a model, a 3/4 size model of Ariane 5. Our satellites are getting close now to the next phase of their journey, because the frigate upper stage is scheduled to switch its engine back on again now. The scheduled moment to be confirmed by the range operations manager. And just to remind you, our confirmations come a little after the main event, because the information comes from the tracking centers to both the Guiana Space Center and Moscow for validation. So we see all the major events happen when they are scheduled to, and then we get our confirmations a wee bit later from the range operations manager, who gets the information from the tracking teams here at the Guiana Space Center, and we'll be meeting them later.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont nominaux.
He's telling us that everything on board is working normally. The teams here, SES teams, in the what we call the fishbowl. Arianespace likes to engage in long-term partnerships with its customers. It's the nature of the job. And with these 4 O3b satellites, they will have launched 57 spacecraft for SES. Really impressive. In terms of the O3b constellation, some of these teams have been working alongside each other for months and others for years. And these kind of campaigns create strong bonds between people and long-term friendships, as the teams obviously have to work closely together, you know, solving problems and hopefully having some fun too. Let's go back to the program director and the mission director for Arianespace.
We are now back with Tim Gore, the O3b F5 Deputy Mission Director. Tim, we are just a few minutes before the first satellite separation. I know the involvement of SES with TAS and industries, together with Arianespace and CNES, was considerable to achieve the launch readiness of O3b satellites for VS-22 Soyuz mission. Would you say the relationship between entities was a strength?
Quite definitely. This was our 5th launch campaign on the Soyuz launch vehicle with a frigate upper stage, and this was our smoothest launch campaign yet. The launch campaign was managed in a most professional and cooperative manner by our combined teams of SES, Thales, Arianespace, and CNES. The launch of these 4 satellites is a culmination of over 3 years of design and manufacturing. And I would like to thank everyone involved in getting us to this point. And special thanks goes to the families of loved ones for allowing them to support all the activities around the clock.
Could you explain in a few words what will happen from separation from launch vehicle in terms of LEOP activities?
Yes, the satellites will be injected into an orbit that is slightly lower than the operational one. Shortly after separation from the frigate, the solar array wings will be deployed. Then the satellite will perform a series of orbit-raising maneuvers to arrive at their final orbit. During this orbit-raising time, we will be testing all the satellites and subsystems of the hardware on the satellite platform. Once they arrive at the proper orbit, we will confirm the performance of the telecommunications payload and then transfer control of the satellites to our SES operations team.
Thanks, Tim. Let's wait now for the separation of the first pair.
Once they arrive at the proper orbit, we'll confirm the performance of the telecommunications payload.
And there they are in the fishbowl inside the thickened glass.
Let's wait now for the separation of the
The
first pair.
Mission Control Center has 2 sides to it, the audience on one side and the mission controllers, the operational teams on the other. Just a reminder of what we're looking at here. This is what's left of our Soyuz launch vehicle. The gold round structure to the left is the frigate upper stage. It has spherical tanks for propellant, and it also has avionics on board. And then attached to it with a very special device, an attachment device, a dispenser, are the 4 satellites. We're being tracked at the moment.
All right, let's try this again. So, earlier I told you that this was, pretend there are 2 hydrogen here. Earlier I told you that this was hydrazine, and that's correct. But they don't put this in. They put dimethyl hydrazine, and what they mean by, we're going to take this backwards from the end of the beginning, or from the end of the name to the forward. So this is the hydrazine. Methyl stands for a carbon, usually attached to 4 hydrogen. Reminder, the black is carbon, the white is hydrogen. So these are 2 methyl groups, and they are attached to the hydrazine like so. So that's the dimethyl hydrazine. And the unsymmetric part I'm not entirely too sure of, because I'm looking at this and this looks pretty darn symmetrical to me. But on the Wikipedia page, there's more of an angle from these. Like, this isn't a flat triangular planar thing. It has more of an angle, and that would affect symmetry. So I am going to copy paste the thing into chat, and yes, 1,1 dimethyl hydrazine, and the 1,1 just stands for, you know, where the carbons are. But they do call it they also do call it unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine, and that's how they get the UDMH. And yes, there are hydrazine antidepressants, much different molecule. They also call this hydrazine, but this is what they, when you hear hydrazine and rocket fuel, this is really what they're talking about. All right, now I'm going to turn them back up. I don't think they're still talking about anything. Unsymmetrical because both methyl groups are on one nitrogen atom. That actually makes sense. Thanks for pointing that out, DPI, because I guess for it to be symmetrical, it would either be like... I took off the wrong... Ah! Well, I'm losing parts of my atoms everywhere. And I hear screaming outside. That's not good. So... Alright, well, I broke it. So this would be symmetrical, and because this bond rotates, it would still be symmetrical. This isn't a fixed bond, it rotates around. Okay.
So we are now coming closer.
I'm going to turn this up, mute my microphone, and figure out WTF.
We call it separating. What we mean is delivering them, because right now they're attached and they have to separate from the launch vehicle. If you think of it as a sophisticated taxi driver, this is the point where it'll be dropping them off and opening the doors to let them out. But it's a rather more carefully planned set of procedures. Very, very, very precise set of orientation maneuvers. This is the point where it'll be dropping them off and opening the doors to let them out. I don't know if you can see some sparkles there, which might be the nozzles. The frigate upper stage has some little nozzles on it which help it to orientate. So this is the scheduled separation time for the first 2 satellites. We will wait for the range operations manager to confirm this separation, but this is what it looks like up there. We have the 2 satellites. There's one coming towards us and there is one on the other side. You just can't see it right now. Moving both away from each other, diametrically opposed. We call this collision avoidance to make sure that nothing bangs into anything else. It's all very carefully planned. And of course, we still have these second 2 attached. So they are moving away from the mothership very carefully, very gently, despite the fact that the actual whole rest of the launcher is hurtling around the planet at 4.26 kilometers per second. Waiting now for the confirmation there of the separation of those 2.
Séparation. FM17 et FM18.
Okay, so we have confirmation that the first 2 satellites have been separated. They're now starting their life in space. Okay, so we have confirmation that the first 2 satellites... They go through a whole set of maneuvers. We heard about them earlier from Mr. Gore, telling us all about what they do. Basically, they have to deploy their solar panels. They need to get energy from the sun so that they can start operating, and they need to send down their signal to their teams on the ground. The Thales Alenia space teams at the moment in charge of all these operations in the early phases, the early phase of what we call LEOPS, launch and early operations. So we're going to take a break for about 8 minutes because we're going to wait for the next 2 satellites to be separated. We'll be coming back to you in about 8 minutes' time. I'm going to close the microphone now and reopen it in roughly 8 minutes. See you shortly. The next 2 satellites to be separated. We'll be coming back to you in about 8 minutes' time. I'm going to close the microphone.
All right, I'm going to turn them way down, and give me 1 second. I'm futzing with my thing. So I can better... trying to figure out how to do this. So I messed up earlier. I just did this explanation, but I'll do it again. Now that I have all the things. Plus I know some of you missed it. Let me do this so I'm a little bigger so it's a little easier to see. So earlier I said that this is hydrazine. I'm not wrong. This is still hydrazine, but this is not what's in the, this is not what they put in rockets. They put unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine, also known as, what was it? 1,1-dimethylhydrazine. So we're going to work backwards. So this is hydrazine. We're going to pop this one off. And this is hydrazine, 2 nitrogens and 4 hydrogens. Blue is nitrogen, white is hydrogen. So I'm going to pop that one off. We're going to pop this one back on. So we still have the hydrazine. And then the dimethyl. A methyl group is a carbon with, that's not the one with all the bits. This is the one with all the bits. A methyl is a carbon, is CH4, so it's a carbon with 4 hydrogen atoms. Black is carbon, white is hydrogen. It's in like a tetrahedral. I'm trying to make sure this is in tetrahedral configuration. And so there's 2 of them, right? So let me make sure I have the right 2. I do not have the right 2. All right, now I have the right 2. So here are the 2 methyls. Just pretend that there's a 4th hydrogen there because I'm not going to pop them off. Here's the hydrazine. And 1 methyl, 2 methyl. Come on, get on there. All right, so that's the dimethylhydrazine. And unsymmetric, as DPI pointed out earlier, is that they are both attached to 1 nitrogen atom here. So here's 1 carbon, here's another carbon, here's the nitrogen atom. And instead of being attached, I was like, oh, I miscalculated. So instead of being attached like this, give me 1 second to put on the other hydrogen. So instead of being attached like this, which would make it super symmetrical, because even if it was, so this is an a cis transfiguration and this is in a trans configuration, but because this is a single bond, it can freely rotate. Whee! So it would be symmetrical. Let me fix all of this and pop the, ah! My nitrogen just broke. That's no good. Let me fix this the best I can. Your nitrogen isn't supposed to break like that. So, fix this and put this back on. So, that's how you get your unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine, and this is what is in the frigate, which is still attached to and moving the other 2 satellites, along with nitrogen tetraoxide. This is N2O4. I am kind of bad with names because it's better for me to see things as the chemical, I hesitate to say equation, but the chemical format straight up. So this is definitely the oxidizer, and this is the fuel, right? So this is dangerous because in the presence of an oxidizer, no matter what temperature, this burns in immediately. It immediately combusts. Doesn't matter what temperature, but as soon as these 2 are together, it immediately combusts. So yeah, that's not terrifying or anything. And yeah. This is corrosive, toxic, bad to aquatic animals, and a possible carcinogen. And it smells like fish and is bad. And as many have stated in chat, this would be possibly one of the last things you smell. Oh, excuse me. And now I have the hiccups, which is not good. So excuse me while I pick up the other half of my nitrogen. Oof. Dogs. Alright, let's see if I can get this under control. In the meantime, enjoy the dogs. Because trust me, I look ridiculous when I hiccup. Oh my goodness. Oh. Alright, they're just gonna be a thing, so... Hopefully it's better now. I am so sorry, guys. Larry Weird and Proud says, returning space shuttle astronauts had to wait until the hazmat team gave them the all clear before leaving the shuttle. I believe it. Oh my goodness. I'm drinking water. Okay, so earlier we talked about, like just a little bit ago, because we had plenty of time. Oh wait, are things happening?
Hello again, and welcome back. We are live at the Guyana Space Center. 2 hours and 11 minutes into the launch of our next two satellites left on the dispenser for the O3B satellites. We've released the first two, and now we're getting closer to the separation moment for the second two. But we've got a few films for you before we do that. Ariane Space is very expert at launching constellations. We've launched a number of them. In fact, I've got some figures for you here. In the last 20 years, we've launched 109 of them, and we've created some special technology for the O3B constellation.
Hello, I am Mark Grossaich, the Vice President Soyuz Business Unit. I am in charge of the Soyuz program in Ariane Space, more precisely responsible of the coordination of the Soyuz activities. I am also interfacing with our Russian partners. We are now about to place into orbit 4 more satellites for SES-03B. It is the 5th launch of the benefit of SES-03B, representing almost a quarter of the Soyuz launches performed from CSG so far. On top of offering a highly reliable launch solution, proven by more than 1,900 Soyuz launches, Ariane Space was chosen by O3B for its team's ability to work on complex projects such as launch of constellations. Soyuz launch vehicle fitting to constellation needs has been already demonstrated with more than 15 launches performed for O3B and other constellations programs. The fregate's upper stage versatility associated with the dedicated dispenser allowed to perfectly answer to O3B missions requirements.
As part of the Payload Environment and Interfaces Department, I ensure the verification of the compatibility of VS-22 payloads with the operational environment experienced on this Soyuz launch. Further, the Payload Environment and Interfaces Department assures the supply of spacecraft launch interfaces.
Okay, let's try this earlier. I talked earlier about cis and trans. You may or may not be familiar with these terms. You may have heard of a trans woman or a trans man. But these terms originally came from chemistry, and they happen to work well when, you know, describing changing gender. So cis, we'll start there, means same side. Or yeah, as in our intro puts, like cislunar versus translunar. So cis means same side. I know this from chemistry. I'm not familiar with any other usage. So this is a double bond. It, as you can see, does not twist at all. Like I can't rotate like I can easily with the others. So these two are on the same side, and these two are on the same side. So we would say that this is cis. So same thing. Double bonded, can't rotate. The reds are on opposite sides, and the whites are on opposite sides, and we call this trans. And so when you say something is cislunar, I'm assuming it means on the same side as the moon, versus translunar, which is probably opposite the moon. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's easier for me to explain with gender because I'm more comfortable with that. Cis means you identify as the gender you were born as. Trans means you identify with the gender different from what you were born with. So, or it's signed at birth is, I guess, the better technology. Not technology. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My brain is fried. Cis means you identify with the gender that you were assigned at birth. Trans means you do not identify with the gender you were assigned at birth, which, because we use binary, that's one or the other, 1, 0, black, white kind of thing. For gender, that usually means the opposite. So, wordage, terminology, yeah, I'm really struggling with wordage. I know, I got it wrong, okay? Okay? Is it okay for me to screw up? Apparently Tinker's not comfortable. Translunar means you're transferring from Earth-dominated space to lunar-dominated space. Okay. That totally actually makes sense. So, Earth space, lunar space. Alright. Our wonderful speaker's back up on screen, so I'm going to flip back to her. Thank you for the correction, Arinstro. Let me turn her back up. Is it really another... Oh, it's the maneuvers. We actually kind of care about
performs
this.
3 boosts to reach the separation orbit. The first 2 boosts are carried out respectively above the Atlantic Ocean and above equatorial Africa to get to an elliptical transfer orbit. At that moment, an 80 minutes coasting phase starts in order to reach the apogee at 7,800 kilometers. During this ballistic phase, most of the time, the 4 spacecraft stack is spun slowly at 1 degree per second around its longitudinal axis. By this way, we balance the thermal load during sun exposure. That's why we call it barbecue mode. Then the third boost converts the elliptical orbit into the circular one targeted for the spacecraft separation. This is done above the Pacific Ocean. Once the first pair of spacecraft is separated, Frigate completes a coast phase and a short burn to ensure a correct distancing between the 2 pairs of spacecraft. The separations will be visible from South Point Station.
So some technical information there, and useful to know. And for anybody who's unaware of an elliptical orbit, an apogee and perigee, an elliptical orbit is like an egg shape, and the apogee, I think I'm right in saying, is the furthest away, and the perigee being the sort of closest. So we got closer to Earth as we went on that elliptical orbit. Now, we were saying that Arianespace has launched 109 constellation satellites in 20 years. Let's look back now at some of those.
Seriously, barbecue mode. I don't know. I didn't know that was going to be a thing. I didn't know that was going to be a thing. Oh my goodness. Pan Am, Larry Weird and Proud says, Pan Am flew transcontinental flights. That was my first experience with the prefix. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if we turn it like this, you know, flying in between America is flying in between the white, and flying in between other countries in Europe is... I can't get over barbecue mode. Flying between countries in Europe is flying between the white. So, if we take this flying from Europe to the US, or US to Europe, I'm not even sure if North America and South America to North America would count, but we're going to make it count. Or Australia to Asia, Asia to Australia. I'm trying to think of like other... Asia to the West Coast to Asia. You know, you guys get the idea. That's... I can't get over barbecue mode. I can't. Barbecue mode. Guido says, that reminds me, there used to be a Trans-Europe Express in the 60s and 70s in Europe. In short, T! That's adorable, Guido. Larry Weird and Proud says, barbecue mode when the air conditioner dies in Texas summer. Oh, man. Veronica says, yes, like a transmission in a car. See, that part, it doesn't... Transmission, I'm like, okay, it's a transmission. I guess it's because I'm not very familiar with, like, how engines and motors and things work. I know they're a thing. But yeah. Tea in barbecue mode. Transmits power from the engines to the wheels. See, that works. That makes sense. That makes sense. It switches gears for you. It totally does, and I love all automatic transmissions for that. Because the only time I've ever shifted gears was on a motorcycle in motorcycle safety class, and my scooter switches gears for me, which I'm very grateful for. I know, okay? You're not even on camera. Get on camera. Puck decided to lay down in the crate. So assist mission would keep all the energy within the mission. Within the engine. Sure, why not? Manual does, but it's still a transmission. I think here is the transmit. Makes more sense. Oh, she's back. Let's turn her back up.
Those were the...
Oh, her audio is terrible. I'm going to try to save your ears because her audio is scratchy. Scratchy, scratchy. I don't think she knows her audio is scratchy yet. No.
Look at the top right-hand side of your screen, and you can see that we were climbing into space.
Sounds like it's a little clearer.
And we've plateaued out because we're on our orbit.
We're
not climbing anymore. Our altitude, 7,836 kilometers. This is separation altitude. The separation moment here for the next two satellites, but we will of course wait as always for our range operations manager to confirm that. But that's what it looks like. The other two, we're getting a better angle on it this time round because we can actually see both of them and how they move away in that diametrically opposed position. And you can also see now what's left of the launch vehicle, which is the frigate upper stage, with the dispenser in the middle, that tube that we could see back there. Now, we're waiting for a couple of things because we need the range operations manager to confirm to us that our satellites are indeed separated. And we also then want to find out if all is going well in space. And so the teams on the ground will be waiting for a signal from the satellites. Basically, they need to call home.
Confirmation de la séparation des satellites O3B, FM19 et FM20.
Well, that's great news. So we have separation confirmed. The launcher has done its job, and the frigate upper stage has done its job of delivering our satellites to their... The launcher has done its job, and the frigate upper stage has done its job of delivering our satellites to their position in...
Give me 1 second. I'll get audio on this. Oh wow, that's loud. Turn this down a bit because it's really loud. And I'm going to fix all of the other things that are happening. So we've switched immediately to the RS-25 engine test. This is the same engine model that's been used since the days of the spacecraft. Like, by spacecraft I mean space shuttle, excuse me. Starting on, STS Mission 1. They are currently testing it for the SLS, Space Launch System. Aren't we clever with names? We're testing it for the SLS, which will be NASA's next generation of let's get humans into space, or stuff into space, you know. As I try to convince my dogs that they really just want to 25 Testfire. As I try to convince my dogs that they really just want to, you know, be quiet and do their thing. So, Veronica here says, I once had a manual that the trans throttle was stuck open. Oh my goodness. That would have been terrifying to me. That would have been terrifying. So I don't think there's going to be any comms traffic. And, oh, I guess I need to update everything. There's so much going on, guys. There we go. Is that it? I think this is it. I think that's actually water vapor, because here's H2, which is 2 hydrogen atoms bound together. And here's O2. And water. That's a lot. Whoa! Alright, anybody else have any hearing left? Is that frost on there? DPI, no, I have no idea how long that burn was. I flipped over at about 3:30, so maybe 10 minutes? If I recall correctly? Yes, I know. I know. Our instro says the outer portion might contain some solid H2O. How? They might have just loaded more oxidizer than fuel. Our instro says they run liquid oxygen through those coils. So, imagine the happy hermit crab to find one of these until he finds out he can't move it to keep the engine bell from overheating. So, reminder, this is what O2 looks like. And they're just using the liquid form of this, which means it's super cool. Or under a lot of pressure, or both. Not to say vaporizing under the heat from combustion. Yeah, that would be bad if the engine bell just kind of vaporized from over combustion heat. Oh, they're just gonna do the replay instead of really talking about it. So now I wonder if we completely missed the missed them talking about that. Yeah, this is the replay. We're gonna mute this. And yeah, that's intense. It was pretty much like this the entire time. Ernster says not much solid that stays that way at 3,000 below Celsius or negative 3,000 Celsius. That's super cold. And Hanning says, let's launch this thing. I mean, that's why they're testing it, is so we can launch it later. That's a lot. That's not smoke, because they literally used oxygen, so liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. These are, you know, this is hydrogen, this is oxygen. They form, oh no, now my oxygen is falling apart. Oh well. They form water, which is why I kept, you know, jiggling this anytime somebody, you know, mentioned water, because I thought it was funny. Let me see if I can put my oxygen together real quick. All signs point to no. So yeah, that's not smoke, that's totally water. Unless there's other things happening. And yeah, if, individual oxygen, let's take this without the hydrogen. Yeah, individual oxygen without any hydrogen can totally be a free radical, because they want to, you know, bond with something. Veronica says, I didn't see any cracks. It must be good to go. I'm assuming. I thought they'd have like a little press conference or something afterwards, but they probably need time to verify everything. I know, Tinker, you're like just off camera too, which is the worst. Get on camera. Make everybody happy. There you go. It would be a very steampunk definition of a rocket engine, the Gem Doctor. Wait, what did the Gem Doctor say? I missed it. Oh, that's a steam engine. Ah, I get it. Free radicals are anarchists. Okay, so we're starting to deteriorate. And, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna flip away from that, because I've been at this for a while. I've been a trooper. Y'all have been troopers for tuning in. So, last chance to ask questions while I run through all the station identification stuff. So hi, we're CosmoQuest. Hi! I'm Annie, specifically. So yeah, I'm the one that knows just enough astronomy to be dangerous. But, you know, I'm also the one with all the cute chemistry toys. So we normally stream 1700 hours UTC, Sunday through Friday. Sunday is myself, colorizing space telescope data. I am still working on Jupiter, and it's much harder than doing a galaxy. Who would have thunk? Monday through Friday is your astronomy and space news roundup. We are a part of, excuse me while I get other things ready, we are a part of Planetary Science Institute? I think I got that right. Which is a nonprofit corporation, so your donations, which we'll get to more of that in a minute, are, you know, tax deductible if your country's laws allow that. Okay, I'm all set. PSI works in collaboration with Youngstown State University here in, it's still cloudy outside, Youngstown, Ohio. Yes, we're part of the Rust Belt. So donations, yeah, we're brought to you by you, so thank you guys. I really appreciate it. You can see at the bottom of your screen that we have a tally going, and I know a couple people donated earlier, so let's throw Cheerios at the dogs for that. So here are the Cheerios, and make it rain! And it's only Tinkerbell, so it'll just be, you know, Tinkerbell eating Cheerios. And another one, because I know there was another donation. Here's the Cheerios, and make it rain! So, your donations through Patreon, your bits through Twitch, your subscriptions through Twitch, your merch purchases through Redbubble, all of that goes to support us and, you know, feed me. So please feed me. Please feed my dogs. We're really good about throwing bits when you donate. I said bits, I meant Cheerios. Bits are essentially Cheerios in my house. What else am I forgetting? I said who we're associated with. I said our schedule. I said the bit about donating. I said how, you know, we're brought to you by you, because that is really true. We really wouldn't be here without you guys. Oh yeah, if you ever miss a stream, because it happens, because good luck trying to time anything with space, you know, launching and things. We archive most things on YouTube, which should be up after a day or so. And if you're watching this on YouTube, come join us in our live streams on Twitch. You can come chat with us. Also, if you can't afford to donate, that's okay. We're not going to turn you away. Please come hang out and chat with us. Please come and join our Discord. You know, come hang out with us. It's fun. You know, plus sometimes we actually do play video games, which is what most people use Twitch for, so, you know. And Star Strider says, new emotes are coming for the Hayabusa stream tonight! And I guess Space Radio is live today in 12 minutes. Oh my gosh, guys, it's so busy. And yes, there are still more streams to come. This has been a very busy day, and I appreciate all of your patience. So Hayabusa is later tonight. Oh, an anonymous cheerer. That's adorable. That's adorable. All right, Tinker, are you ready for more? Tinker isn't the one that speaks on command. Tinker. She's like, nope, I'm gonna look for more bits. So thank you, Anonymous. Here are the Cheerios, and make it rain! I thank you. Tinker thanks you. She is a very, very happy dog. Yeah, there's a Hayabusa stream later tonight, which I've already forgotten which time. Pamela, what time are you gonna start for the Hayabusa stream? Because all I know is that I'm not gonna be here. Today was Favorite Humans Day off, and yeah, I'm going to take Favorite Human out to dinner for being such a patient, awesome human being. Because normally he would game. Normally we would go to the grocery store and have cheesecake and all that. But, you know, things come up. So, 9:30 Central, so that's 10:30 Eastern Time. which is +4, 24. That's just after midnight. That's 100 hours, 30 minutes UTC. So 00. Oh wait, from a post in the WSH Slack, our instro says the deployment is at 2:13 UTC. The impact is at 2:45 UTC. So wait, did I add? No. 10:30. I can't add. I'm sorry. 10:30 is 2,200 hours. Gotcha. 2,200 hours plus 4 is indeed close to 200 hours. That just sounds weird. 2 hours and 30 minutes UTC. So, Starstrider says she will tweet. She may be time zone flailing because time zones are hard, people. So I think that covers everything. Come back and join us tonight for Hayabusa. And apparently, yes, there are more things happening tomorrow, possibly Saturday. Yeah, there's a lot going on. We'll do our best to keep you updated, and because we'd love to have you join us and hang out with us while these things happen. So with that, I am going to awkwardly roll the credits. If you have anybody that we should raid, please say now. Because otherwise I'm just going to find somebody from the Knowledge Fellowship, and it may or not be whatever happens. Raid Paul on YouTube. I can't raid YouTube, I can only raid Twitch. So, unfortunately. Starstrider says she will start at 8 p.m. Central. That's 9 p.m. Eastern. Alright, there you guys have it. It's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern. And Impact is at 9:30 p.m. Central. So, wow. Paul Matt Sutter is on Twitch. Oh, okay. Paul Matt Sutter is on Twitch. Alright, so that's who we're rating. Alright, cool. I'm going to plug that in. Paul Matt. There we go. I don't know how he gets away with an A. And, yeah, I'm going to awkwardly roll the credits, and then we're going to raid, and we're going to do all the things, and yeah. Thanks, guys, for being awesome and hanging out with us, and we'll see you later tonight. Bye!